Welcome everyone to the Santa Ana General Plan Community Outreach Roundtable. We will be starting shortly as others join us for this meeting. Thank you so much. Once again, we would like to welcome everyone to the General Plan Community Outreach Roundtable. We're going to be covering the environmental justice follow-up from our last roundtable meeting. So thank you all.
Hi, Margarita. This is Barry Cottle.
Hi, Barry.
Hey, I need to get off about 6 o'clock or a few minutes after 6. I just wanted to let you know if something's going on. I just need to hop off a little bit early, but I'm glad to be here till then.
Oh, that's fine. Thank you so much, Barry, for joining us.
Yeah, I didn't want to interrupt, but just wanted to let you know that before we got too far.
Okay, you're excused. Just kidding. Thanks, Barry.
You bet.
Alyssa, do we still have folks in the waiting room? Are they all on board on the call?
Yeah, it looks like everyone's in. No one in the waiting room.
Okay, excellent.
Great, then should we start?
Go ahead, Mr. Tai.
Thank you, Margarita. Good afternoon, or actually late afternoon to everyone, and welcome. I see that tonight we also have Council Member Lopez joining us, so I just want to give a shout out to her. And again, thank you for joining us tonight on a late evening. We are here to discuss an update as we committed to regarding the general plan update process, as to bring everyone up to date. The City Council and Planning Commission asked staff to delay the adoption of the general plan and review of the EIR until we can adequately address some of the outreach and get a better understanding, working with the community on outreach regarding EJ issues and EJs in our community. As a component of that, we have been working with interested parties and organizations and residents to discuss the best way and, in this current COVID environment, without the tool of having an in-person interaction, that we're able to reach out to our residents and be able to comprehensively get and obtain a holistic view and getting comments and input from our community into issues that are most relevant to us for each of the EJ community in our city, and be able to have a meaningful response in the general plan process. Can I have the next slide, please? Who's operating slide? Next one, please. So tonight we're here to bring you up to date as to our discussion. Is continuing discussion from January with many of the concerns residents and organization regarding how we can better outreach. And using your input, we have developed what we think is a really comprehensive outreach plan that we can initiate over the next several months to discuss with the community on the various EJ issues, as well as getting input and develop meaningful responses that we can refine into our general plan. We'll also be discussing tonight an updated schedule and timeline for what we'll be doing for the next 9 to 10 months. And then at the end of towards the end of the meeting, we will discuss the outreach effort, as I mentioned, on the strategies that we would like to be able to implement, and we think it's quite comprehensive based on input that we received previously. And then we'll just have an open discussion so that we can get some input on what we have developed so far, and be able to go to the next step, which is really start reaching out to the community using the various tools that we have developed for you and we'll be discussing tonight. Next slide, please. So,
Min, I'm sorry,
as
Min, this is Margarita. I apologize for interrupting. We forgot to announce for those, para los que hablan español, for the Spanish speakers, that we have Narcy who's helping us with the interpreting. So if I can just make that quick announcement.
Sure, thank you.
Okay, okay.
Was there anything else you needed?
I'll make it in Spanish to connect them. Para las personas que hablan español, que están con nosotros esta noche, pueden tener acceso a la traducción. Si pueden mirar abajo del app, tenemos el globito que dice interpretación y puedes seleccionar el español y tenemos personal que les puede traducir durante esta presentación. Gracias.
Thank you. And I'm looking at my screen, I also see that we have Councilmember Becerra as well. So I'll give a shout out to Councilmember Becerra. So as we're here to discuss the general plan, to share with some of the folks here, I know many of you know what a general plan is, but for those that are new to this process, a general plan is basically a long-range planning policy document that the city adopt in order to address the various issues in the course of the daily operations, as well as the vision for what the city want to be in the future. In this case, we're looking at a document that has a horizon of 2045, and it sets out the planning for land use, economic development, and various other issues such as safety, infrastructure. And for the very first time, we are looking at additional elements that includes cultural preservation, historic preservation, urban design, all of those issues that are very important and critical to our residents. We also include a new EJ element, which is being infused into a document as principles, policies, and goals within each element, and not necessarily having a standalone. And the reason why we chose this route is because environmental justice is such a critical and important issue in our community, and it needed to be highlighted in every element of the general plan. We felt that by doing that, we're able to have every agency that are involved in implementing the various aspects of the general plan to be a champion of not only the area that they oversee, but also being a champion for environmental justice issues. And that's the reason why it was done that way. The general plan is also being focused on a comprehensive update. And the last time we updated general plan comprehensively was in 1982. This general plan is taking not only a new direction, but it also really putting the issues of our community in the forefront. Beginning in 2015, the city staff and under the leadership of the City Council and the Planning Commission began a long journey of outreaching to the community, ascertaining what the community really is looking for to the future, and what's important to our community. And there are 5 pillars, core values that have been established that is a continuing theme throughout the general plan update, and that is a celebration of our culture, ensuring that as we grow, there is sustainability, that we continue to have growth that is sustainable, but still allow for economic development opportunity, that we take the health of our residents and our community into consideration for land use and development scenarios, that education is something that is very critical and we must continue to support. While education is not a core function of the city, we need to evaluate how we can support education in our community, as well as equity, ensuring that there is equity to resources, equity to education, equity to health, and equity to every aspects of what the city brings forth to our residents. So those 5 core values, as you review throughout our general plan, will be a sustaining message. And we hope that that will be something that will continue to promote not only the various value of our community, but also the environmental justice concerns that we are taking additional time to address through this process, which begins with us here tonight. So with that, I don't want to take too much more time. If you can go to the next slides, I think there's some housekeeping information that we'd want to share with you so that everyone can participate. Alyssa?
Hi, everyone. So there are a couple ways to participate during the meeting. So if you want our attention, or if you actually want to ask your question verbally, you can raise your hand. And we're going to have a discussion time throughout the presentation and towards the end. And then if you have a question, you can type it in the chat box or raise your hand. You can use those two functions. And those of you that are dialing in, I see that there are a couple of you. Dial *9 to raise your hand and *6 to unmute yourself to speak. Thank you.
Thank you. So at this point in time, I'd like to hand the meeting over and the presentation to our staff, which are on with us tonight is Melanie McCann. She is our principal planner and is the lead staff in project managing the general plan update. And we also have Margarita Macedonio, who's assisting us with the general plan update, as well as the outreach efforts that we're doing tonight, as well as continuing in the future. So Melanie?
Melanie, you're on mute.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Min. And especially thanks to everyone for taking the time out of your evening to be part of this. And so what we'll do over the next 4 slides is to walk you through some of the key components proposed for the community outreach. And Margarita and I will share this information. The first part we wanted to share is the notion of the survey that would go out to all the environmental justice neighborhoods targeted from March through May, that time frame. The commitment is to provide that survey in English, Spanish, and Vietnamese as well. We will be providing an electronic copy or version that would be accessible on the city's website, as well as hard copies that would be mailed to the EJ neighborhoods. And we're looking to have a gift card drawing incentive to encourage participation in the survey. So we're hoping that will be helpful. The other key component, of course, is the meetings, the virtual meetings. And again, that's proposed in the same time frame of March through May. And we just have noted the first meeting that that would kick off the outreach, and that would be with what we're calling a cluster of 2 neighborhoods, the Delhi neighborhood and Memorial Park. And that first meeting is scheduled, we're looking to schedule that date in early March. So again, we mentioned that there would be flyers that would go out to the owners, the property owners, and the occupants and residents within those EJ communities defined by SB 1000. And that equates to about 32,000 mailers. With feedback from the group and to give ample time, we're committed to mailing out these flyers, surveys 14 days before the meeting to allow a 2-week notice. In addition, we're planning to take the opportunity to work with what's called Peach Jar, and it goes out to Santa Ana and Garden Grove local school networks, the parents, and to get our flyer message out regarding the flyer and the meeting times. So we're really looking forward to that as well, to broaden the reach. And then, of course, we would be networking with everyone through emails, city's Nixle system, social media, and hopefully networking with all the folks that are on the call today from the community serving organizations in the neighborhoods to get the message out and keep pushing those messages out through emails and your distribution list as well. And we're also heard the opportunity to tap into our local radio station, which we will need to do a little more research on, and then also take the opportunity to do some marketing on our electric marquee. For instance, we have an opportunity to do such on Main Place marquee at the mall, just to get the word out. With that, I'll hand it over to Margarita to share a little bit more information. You're muted, Margarita.
Thank you, Melanie. I see that we have Councilmember Nelida Mendoza also joining the call.
Very good.
All right.
Welcome, council member.
Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit more about the outreach plan. And as you know, we've talked about it as a roundtable. This has come up where, you know, when flyers are so impersonal, when it comes from somebody that you trust, whether it's your, you know, your church, you know, pastor, or your apartment manager, or, you know, the lady that works at the school. I mean, these are trusted community partners that are informing, you know, our community. And so that is what we're going to need to try to get it on the radar, you know, to residents and businesses and other property owners who live in the environmental justice areas. And so that is one of the plans, to have the survey and the flyer available. But part of it is working with this team here, those of you who are on the call, to be able to get the word out. If they hear it from multiple sources of trusted people, more than likely their radar will go up, and they'll be able to focus a little bit on that. The other area that we've looked at is community informational boards, you know, for neighborhoods. Each neighborhood has key locations, you know, whether it's an informal book lending library or just another message board where information can be posted. We know that our laundromats have been very effective at getting information, and there are other initiatives that have focused around the power of the laundromats and being able to share with folks who don't have access. So those are the kinds of new things that we're looking at and part of the outreach plan. Another opportunity is on the ground outreach, some focused outreach. I mean, we know that the environmental justice areas, it's a vast area. We have census tracts in 21 neighborhoods that we're trying to reach out. And so we're going to get a sense as the months pass by that we're not getting a response from, let's say, you know, segments of the Delhi community, because I see Vivian on the call. So let's say, you know, we're not getting enough of a response from this area in the Delhi community. Well, the follow-up is to work with our neighborhood contacts and other contacts to be able to do some more outreach in terms of, again, getting it on the radar, being able to distribute the survey so that people have a hard copy and they know how to get it back. And really an opportunity to engage, you know, with them in terms of what their story is, what their voice is, because they may not understand, you know, environmental justice or the general plan, but if we work from the base of their story, their experiences, and how that connects to living in a healthy environment, that is, I think, and what we've discussed, and from what we've heard from you, is sort of the basis for being able to connect, you know, with residents. So that's what we mean by, you know, focused on the ground outreach. And as you've noticed around the neighborhoods and around the city, there have been key locations to hold, like food distribution, the curbside library pickup. There are places that our community is going to for resources, for information, hopefully for vaccines soon. We know we started that with our Santa Ana Senior Center, and you know, we envision having an opportunity to do that. And when we do, we'd like to have some sort of a presence at these pop-ups so that, again, we're engaging in a way that we want to maximize that. You know, this is something important. This is something important for our community. And, you know, most of this, it wouldn't just fall like on the city's shoulders, but we do invite, you know, you all as committed residents and partners on the call to assist and to contribute in this effort to do the outreach. We can move on to the next slide. And then just to follow up on the features, right? When we would have these neighborhood meetings, right now, it would not be possible to have them in person because of our public health crisis, and we don't have enough people getting the vaccine in our community yet. So we want to use the same Zoom platform, and we're still looking at other opportunities. You know, I've checked in with some of you to see about what your experience has been in terms of being able to draw and capture a wider audience through doing the Facebook Live feature on Zoom for like the Spanish speakers in our community. Our sense is that there may be a draw there, that, you know, there are members of our community who are very much into Facebook, and by offering the interpretation using that, we might be able to reach more people so that they're engaged in this process. One thing that we've heard very clear is that, you know, at minimum, we need to have a multilingual platform. We need to have information available in the three primary languages in our community, which are English, Spanish, and Vietnamese. So that is something that we are working to accomplish in the delivery of the presentation. So that means during the meetings, when we know and we want to gauge at each meeting if there is going to be a need, we already are assuming that the Spanish, English need will be there, but for the Vietnamese, we need to get a better sense as we have each of the environmental justice meetings that we are prepared to have an interpreter there, and that we prepare to have the materials in terms of the PowerPoint presentation available in the three languages. To have that commitment that it's not just the phone interpretation, you know, where people are selecting the language feature, but that we are also being able to communicate through the chat about what questions are being asked. So it does require more coordination to have the three, you know, languages available at each meeting as needed, right? And then more importantly, the handout materials. So we're talking about the survey, which is very critical, again, to gauge the voice, the experience of our residents, our businesses, property owners when it comes to livable conditions, you know, in their neighborhood, what it means to them, and how they can be able to express that through a survey that has different questions. The other part on the scorecard is one of the tools that we're working to develop to provide almost like a profile of your environmental health conditions at a neighborhood level. So we're drawing on different sources to make that kind of like a springboard discussion about environmental justice. And we've been piloting this so far with our leaders in Hedinger Park, with Janelle and Carla. And so they've given us some really good feedback to see how this can be more useful so that our neighborhoods understand and they're able to, you know, draw a better sense of asthma or, like, you know, other rates that we might find useful for a neighborhood to know and to better understand what's happening in their community. So I think, Melanie, that concludes my part. I think you're muted, Melanie. I apologize. Let's see. I'll mute myself now.
Thank you, Margarita. Appreciate that. So the next few slides, I'm just going to reiterate and touch on what our expectations are for those environmental justice neighborhood meetings. So we anticipate, of course, trying to better frame what is environmental justice, present the scorecards that Margarita touched on, which would provide demographic and environmental information that are relevant for that neighborhood area. We'd have the environmental justice survey. Potentially, we'd have an interactive component within the meeting and share the responses live, as well as potentially share the responses we have so far to engage folks. And then also important, we want to take the opportunity to share with the neighbors some of the policies and actions that are in the draft general plan that we've worked with other folks around the roundtable to identify actions that help improve the quality of life for the environmental justice areas and also promote a healthy environment. So we're looking forward to sharing those and making sure everyone is aware of those so we can improve on and adjust them as appropriate. So as we mentioned, we're committed to a survey. It would be a paper copy as well as an electronic version. And we mentioned that there would be neighborhood meetings. Originally, we proposed 6 neighborhood meetings, and we've evolved to 10. So those yellowed fireballs or stars are where we would geographically be having the neighborhood meetings. And then to the right here is just an early version of what we call the scorecard. And this was for Hedinger Park, where we would look at where they're located, identify geographic locations, clarify what this scoring system is for environmental justice and the different indicators that we would provide more information on. So with that, we would just open it up for discussion and questions. And if you'd like to raise your hand, and we'll go from there. Thanks. Margarita, did you want to help orchestrate that?
Oh, sure. It looks like we have Alberta Christie who has raised her hand. So let me scroll up to Miss Christie to lower hand. Okay, Alberta, go ahead and ask your question.
If you go back to your general area of the slide previous to this one, to go back one where you have the neighborhoods listed, I didn't see Valley Adams. You got Centennial. I think one before that.
We'll go up. There we go.
There you go. You go Centennial, Central City, but you don't have Valley. Or you don't have Laurelhurst, or aren't we included in this area, or Shadowrun?
So I can start, and then if someone else from the team can answer. So Alberta, I think since you help us with the Centennial Park neighborhood, Centennial Park, it falls within the neighborhoods that are designated by the state as environmental justice areas. So it's not the entire city, but because Centennial Park, some of the census tracts are there, we just thought we should circle back with some of the neighborhood leaders just to get them in the loop on this process.
Oh, okay. So, so our area will kind of be in there. We can include the other neighborhoods to help out with this, right?
Yeah, I think
yes. Mm-hmm.
Right. So just to reiterate, the areas that are in bright pink here are the areas that by definition are environmental justice areas based on the different criteria.
I'm sorry, I just can't see that. It's so small.
We'll be happy to share it with you as a follow-up as well.
Okay.
But yeah, so in some cases, there's neighborhoods that are only a portion of the neighborhood is in an environmental justice area.
Okay.
Because it's designated by census tract.
Okay.
Thanks for the question.
Okay, thanks. We just don't want to be left out.
Right.
No, Alberta, trust me, we will involve you. Thank you. Do we have any other questions? Let's see, we have 2 participants who have raised their hands.
Yeah, Chris Holland raised his hand, and then Adolfo, and then Kyla.
Perfect.
Go ahead, Mr. Holland.
Yeah, good evening. Good evening. I have 2 questions. One, I've got an apartment building that I've owned for like 23 years next to Madison Park in that area. And we used to have a police substation in that area. And we've had some unfortunate increase in crime and graffiti in that area. It's almost gotten epidemic portions. It's really gotten bad. Was wondering, has any thought come to doing that type of thing, having a substation? And we also, years ago, had an after-school location for the kids to come to because both parents were working. I realize that under the current conditions, we can't do that because of social gatherings, but was wondering if any future thought would be to after school or programs for the kids, because I'm pretty active lately in the area of Madison Park, Cedar Evergreen project, and which is Ward 1. And I'm seeing a lot of unsupervised kids running around. And I think that is unfortunately have an effect on the gang activity. So was wondering, is there any focus on doing something as far as a substation or after school type of things for kids?
Chris, thank you for your comment and input. I'll certainly take that information back and share with our police chief, as well as other programs that addresses youth after school activity. Tonight's purpose meeting, the purpose of tonight's discussion is revolving around how do we do better outreach to the environmental justice community for the general plan update. So I will take that information and I will share with our police chief and have our staff circle back with you and give you an update as to the outcome of those discussions. Thank you, Chris.
I do have my second question. Thank you for your comment. Is environmental waste management has put out, and I guess it's with the city, regarding recycling. And it's been put off to the future, but I was wondering if you have any details regarding trying to get various neighborhoods to recycle.
We will also get that question to our waste management project manager, Christy Kindig. I believe there is some discussion about recycling and some refinements of recycling requirements in the near future. I will ask her to give you a call as well to give you that update. If you can leave us with your phone number and contact information.
Yeah,
you know,
we have it. We have his
right.
contact for sure. Yes.
We'll have Christy contact you and discuss the future of recycling as well.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Holland. Alyssa, who else do we have?
So next is Adolfo, then Kayla, and then Caesar, then Manny. So Adolfo, if you can unmute yourself.
Hi, this is Adolfo Sierra. I'm an interim president of MPNA, Madison Park Neighborhood Association. And the question I have is on the outreach, since this is the intention for the roundtable outreach and how to do a better job on reaching the communities. In the past, we had some conversations in regards of including the Santa Ana Unified School District policymakers, also the superintendent. And I believe there was a comment, or it was something going on between the city of Santa Ana manager speaking to with the superintendent. I would like to know how that is going to be incorporated to the plan for the outreach, and who is who's doing a follow-up on this. We believe that it's of extreme importance to include the schools, the school district, because as you can see on the map that you're sharing right now with the purple areas, many of the schools are affected and they are within this environmental justice area. So that's my question.
Thank you, Adolfo.
I can help address that, Min.
Okay.
So as was mentioned, a beginning to reaching out to not just Santa Ana Unified especially, but Garden Grove as well, is that the tool, the Peach Jar, which is the conduit to the parents. And Margarita, you could assist as well, but we've been in conversation with Susie Guerra Lopez and been trying to find other inroads to working with the school district through their wellness centers et cetera, to better communicate and collaborate with the school district. So Margarita, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, I just wanted to add. So I know, Adolfo, what you're saying is at a higher level, right? So one thing is with us connecting with Susie and, you know, the wellness center staff, they're on the ground. They have the better reach, you know, to some of the, with the community that we're trying to focus, like in the map. But I think your question is more about the policymakers, right? In terms of
Correct, because last year
the commitment to make sure that the district comes through in terms of partnering with the city on the outreach.
correct, because I believe we have this discussion last year. The Santa Ana Unified School District also did a proclamation about also being part of the environmental justice within the communities. And I believe it's very important that we have some kind of a coordination so we can have the schools also be part of this communication, and the parents and the children also get all this information from the proper channels and disseminate it as much as we can and have a very successful outreach. That's my question, my concern, and my request as a community representative for so we can include them and having joined the conversations. It would be nice to have at least one of them joining, as we have right now with some of the council members joining the conversation. It will be great to have them. And if someone can invite them, we can also do that, ask them if they can join us at future meetings. But it will be great that there is some kind of collaboration, coordination to have a better outcome of the outreach.
Thank you, Adolfo. We'll certainly take note of that. And we understand that while we're working closely at the staff level, that we want to communicate to our elected official and leadership that our residents is really asking that all level of leadership coordinate and communicate. So we'll certainly deliver that message to our leadership. And thank you for that input. And we did take your input, and there, you know, as a result of that, we've worked very closely with Susie in order for us to take advantage of the school's distribution and network of communication to parents, and many of which have children and are living in these neighborhoods. So through that suggestion, we really took that to heart and were able to make that connection. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tai. Thank you.
Okay, Alyssa, who's the next?
Up next, Kayla.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kayla. I'm LCEJ's community organizer. So I do have a quick question on the survey you plan to distribute on these meetings and, you know, flyers and everything. So I'm just wondering if you have like a draft that you have available. I'd be really interested in seeing like the types of survey questions that are going to be put out there. A follow, and then, yeah.
Oh, I was going to say, would you volunteer to be one of our peer reviews to our survey to give some feedback on it before it goes out?
Yeah, of course. And I'm sure there's other people on this meeting, and maybe some are not present that would also like to be on the peer review process. But yes. And then following up with that, I do have a few, one suggestion on your website on making these meetings a little bit more accessible. So when I go on your website under the general plan tab, there's like future meetings on the side. I would personally just put that more out there, like towards the dead center, so people can just go on there, put like a quick button to RSVP or register for the next meeting. Just because like if I go through it, then it takes me to like the city meetings and then all these other links. But yeah, just to make it a little bit more accessible towards there on that same page.
Thank you. We'll make note of that.
But yeah.
Thanks, Kayla. We'll follow up with you on the survey.
And then Melanie, we received a message from Carla Juarez that she would also like to be on the peer review of the survey.
Sounds good.
Thank you, Kayla. Up
And
next,
so would Erika Gonzalez, sorry. So would Erika Gonzalez from Delhi.
So we want to keep it, well, we'll follow up with all you ladies and others. Thank you.
Go ahead, Alyssa.
oh, Caesar, go ahead. You had a question.
Great, thank you. Actually, both of my questions were already asked, so I'll just elaborate on that. The first one was around the outreach, especially how we involve the youth. Obviously, this has been a big topic of discussion, and knowing that a lot of this information is going to go out to parents through the Unified School District, are there other things we could be doing to engage the youth? And knowing that not everybody who's a youth is also in the high school, or we have some folks who are college, and maybe the Santa College has some opportunities for us to engage with folks. But other than that, I think I would also encourage that we look at our community groups that have a lot of youth leaders who can help in this process. And the question that I also had is, as we're doing this outreach, one of the major themes that we heard from the last discussions was that a lot of this stuff is very technical. So how are we simplifying this, make it relatable to the public? And also, I think, how do we utilize organizations like ours and others who are on this call to be able to be part of that process, to work with residents to facilitate that discussion? And the other question was also related to the survey. I think it would be helpful if those who are on the call who want to see it, or those who have been involved already in this process, could have the opportunity to review it and have some feedback on that and get some perspectives.
Thank you, Caesar. We'll be happy to forward the survey. I see that a lot of people are interested. So if you leave us with your email, we will certainly, include you on the draft. And thank you for the suggestion to include, the different various educational institution and system that we have here in town. We'll certainly, reach out and have a broad spectrum of outreach through our community. I think the educational system has a great outreach effort. If you have any organizations that you think might be good that can help us better reach out to the youth community, like Kids Works or other organization, please email us. We'll be happy to, connect with those organizations and ask for their assistance in outreach as well. We are certainly open to every avenue. We want to make sure that our outreach is meaningful and is thorough as can be through this pandemic process. I think that we will through that and getting input, we should be able to get out and do the best job that we can and get input coming back to the community.
So Min, I just wanted to add to that, and just to clarify with the group that, yes, I mean, you are the roundtable, you all also are experts in terms of engagement, and that is the intent of having you, here and continuing to participate, because it's been so valuable to us to try this again, and let's do it well, and let's do it more in depth. And so all of this is very, very helpful. I just wanted to highlight a couple of comments on the chat that I've received directly. So one is, in terms of engaging our youth, let's invest more in our Instagram, because that's something that is a popular platform for our youth to communicate and engage with, especially if we want them to be involved in promoting it and participating it and sharing it across the 21 neighborhoods. That is an untapped source that we can probably make more useful for our youth. And then we had perhaps doing a live stream through the city's Facebook and Instagram pages would be something for us to consider to push the survey out also. And then having the surveys available at our any kind of mobile events that we're doing around the vaccines or around the food distribution, any time that we have a pop-up where there's information being shared, to remind us as staff to have the surveys available. So thank you all for that message. And we have our Mayor Pro Tem, David Peñalosa, who has just joined us, Min.
Welcome, Mayor Pro Tem.
Okay, so
Thank you, everybody. Good evening.
Go ahead, Alyssa.
So we have 4 hands raised. Up next is Manny and then Jose Rhea. Go ahead, Manny.
Cool. Thank you for that, Alyssa, and thanks for everyone else on the call today. I guess it's just, you know, if we're talking about outreach, it still seems that the missing piece that the city hasn't necessarily invested in on the front end is a citywide customer relations management system, so a CRM. So the state of New York has a program that basically helps them kind of contact different constituents. It's like, I think it's like Blue, I want to say it's like Bluebird or BlueStack. So it's just one of these things where we can systematize some of these questions, because I know what ends up happening is we can have a list of folks that we all kind of connect with, but if we don't put it in a centralized database, it's kind of hard to keep track of it over time, and no one person can remember everything. So I really do think the city should invest in some sort of CRM device or system that does actually bring together all the various kind of points of contact that the city has, because we have 2 advantages. Since the city actually owns our local water system, we have at least contact and preferred language information for pretty much every address that has a water hookup. So even just kind of using that as a starting point, along with our basic address list and other data that's already accessible to the city for city purposes, it would be a much more systematic way to go about actually promoting and getting this valuable information out to people. And I don't think we've necessarily looked at it that way. We're like posting things onto Facebook, we're hoping that someone sees a flyer somewhere, but we're not really tracking to see what outreach we've done and whether or not we've gotten a response from the city as a whole. And I think that that more systematic process is something that's well worth the investment and would be actually pretty cost effective in the sense of knowing which homes and houses you'd be able to reach out with digital, who would need a phone call, and who would need someone to knock on their door. So, you know, that sort of thing is something I really wish the city would spend a little bit more time considering, because it just makes it so much easier when it comes to communication.
Thank you, Manny. And certainly that having such a system would be so helpful in this process. And, you know, not only for our communication here, but also comprehensively citywide, and certainly something that I will bring to the attention of the city manager, looking at some type of CRM system for our city as well. So thank you. We are utilizing every resources that we have. As you can see tonight, we pull out every single strategy that we have and included a lot more that were brought to us from the previous roundtable. So, you know, it's as I say in government, we can always improve, and while we're doing our best, we can always improve. So thank you for those comments.
So I wanted to circle back to the chat. We did receive a response. Patricia Flores is interested in being in the peer review. And then I received a question, and maybe Melanie, to clarify, why are there only 17 EJ census tracts area in the map when there are 21? I think just to clarify that we have,
Sure.
Oh, go ahead, Melanie.
So there are 17 census tracts that are designated as environmental justice areas. And some of those census tracts overlap with multiple neighborhoods. So that's why there's 21 neighborhoods that are either partially in an EJ area or fully in an EJ area. Does that help a little bit?
Thank you, Melanie.
Welcome.
Okay, so we have up next Jose Rhea, and then Patricia Flores will go afterwards. Go ahead, Jose.
Oh, hello.
Hi, Jose.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, thank you for the tremendous progress that has been made in this developing this plan. I think that is it's come a long ways. So thanks for everything that you guys have been doing. And Margarita, I just wanted to make a quick comment. You know, recently the Madison Park Neighborhood Association presented the work that we are doing in environmental justice, air pollution in our neighborhood to Artesia Pilar, but also Flower Park leadership. And, you know, Council Member Hernandez was there. And he asked us to follow up with him, and we plan to do that. But I wanted to take advantage of this opportunity and also invite Councilwomen Lopez and Mendoza to come and join us on a tour that was previously given to both council members Becerra and also Peñalosa, city manager, Director Min, and also the city code enforcement director. And just to get a sense of the seriousness of the issues that we are facing along the southeast corridor. Actually, it's more than southeast; it's more like the entire east of Santa Ana, because it runs, looking at this map, all the way from Logan, all the way to beyond Delhi to Sandpoint, where these industries are located on that along Grant and Avenue, just to see, the need of addressing some of these issues. And there's nothing like seeing it with your own eyes and walking. It's not an arduous walk, just a few blocks, as Councilman Becerra and Peñalosa can attest. Also, Director Min Ty was part of this walk. Just to come and join us, and we can follow up with you and just see that how close these apartments are to these polluting industries, and where we have schools that are 360 degrees surrounded by these what we consider offenders, because they do really impact the health of our children and our youth and our elderly, everybody's health. But so I'm extending an invitation to both council members, Lopez and Mendoza, to come and join us and to take a look at what is going on in our part of town. Thank you.
Thank you, Jose. And council member, please bring your walking shoes. There's some areas pretty rough.
Not the rough, man.
Go ahead,
No,
Alyssa.
I think it's the railroad tracks. You don't want to get your ankle twisted.
Just don't wear stilettos like the city manager did.
Okay, so we still have 3 hands raised. So up next is Patricia Flores, and then Marta Rodriguez will go afterwards. Go ahead, Patricia.
Everyone. I wanted to follow up on a couple of my suggestions from the last roundtable to see if they've been taken into account. So we can go one by one. The first one is whether soil lead has been included now on the survey, both the online and the physical survey.
Yes, we do have lead as one of the survey inquiries on the survey, which you'll see. Yeah.
Awesome. The second suggestion was to add additional options for comment on the physical handout survey for people who are unable to access the virtual town halls. Will that be a component added as well?
I think you're asking if we'll have hard copies of the survey?
If there'll be hard copies, but as well if there's additional sections that allow for more room to comment for people who are dependent on the hard copy who don't have internet access for the town halls.
There'll be opportunity for providing, if you will, additional comments on the survey, just handwriting in additional comments.
Okay, great. Yeah, because I just think it's important to add in more options for participation for that physically handed out survey, since there will be a good amount of Santa Ana residents, even the ones that have been documented as having internet, may not have consistent internet access. And so it'll be important to put more room for comment on those physical surveys.
Patricia, I have a follow-up question to that. So just so that we're clear, right? So, we have the survey, it has questions. We're trying to get more information on maybe some key locations that the resident wants to point out to us where they're concerned about the environment or their health. And but you're also saying that maybe at the end or having a section where they can write in, that's
Right.
That's what you're saying. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Because the electronic survey, I believe, like is a lot of it's like selecting options, right? And I think that's more important to have like additional room for comment on those physical surveys, since those people most likely won't be able to participate in this in the follow-up town halls.
Yeah, there'll definitely be room for comments on both the electronic and the hard copy, but we'll make sure we're very mindful of leaving ample opportunity on the hard copies per your suggestion. Thanks.
Great, thank you. And then the last aspect that I want to follow up on was reaching out to specific communities that may not be represented accurately in a town hall, right? So specific outreach to the homeless community. I want to suggest that you all work with Catholic Worker, that organization, and bring them into this conversation.
What
since they
organization
have
did you say?
Catholic Worker.
Oh, Catholic Worker. Very good.
Yeah, they have extensive experience reaching out to the homeless community. And I think especially reaching out to the homeless community is going to be important for this. There's a lot of specific experiences that a lot of us here don't have that they'll be able to speak to. For example, a lot of the folks I work with have hundreds of tickets for storage, for improper storage when they have no place to put their belongings, right? And so thinking about how can these kind of issues be dealt with so that we're not criminalizing homeless people. And I think that homeless people themselves will be able to speak to that most directly. And so I would suggest that even in addition to the physical handouts, there be some kind of outreach, even at a social distance in person to particular encampments throughout the city. I think that getting those opinions is incredibly important. I'd also like to suggest like specific meetings with Indigenous community, Acajam and Tonga communities that are native to Santana and the surrounding area to get their specific input as well about land use. These are communities that are state recognized tribes, but not federally recognized, and so they don't have an assigned reservation. And so I think it's important right now in this moment to establish more ties between the city and those tribes to be able to make sure they have access to land and input in these kind of decisions that affect them on their homeland. And I'm more than happy to help make those connections as well in both of those instances.
Thank you. We'll follow up with you in particular on the indigenous contacts. Tribal.
Thank you.
Thanks, Patricia.
Okay, so up next, Marta Rodriguez, and then Dolores will go afterwards.
Hi, my name is Marta. So are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, thanks. So I volunteer with the Willard community, and last month we had dumpster days, and we had a really great turnout. We just had volunteers out, following all the CDC guidelines and all, but we had 3 large dumpsters, and had a huge turnout. So would we be able to, and we're doing this again next month in March, would we be able to have at that point a handful of surveys to distribute to those people that don't go on the internet and most likely would never hear about this, maybe don't have children, so they wouldn't hear about it through the school system? And then my other question is, well, I know that Willard, the entire area is not on the map there, just the civic center portion. My question is about Hedinger Park. So it looks like the entire area there covers all the way through McFadden. Is that the boundaries for the EJ boundaries for Hedinger Park? Does it go all the way down to McFadden?
Well, let me start with the March event. That's just the kind of pop-up event that we would look forward to. You'd have to repeat when the timing of your event, but we are definitely targeting to have the survey completed in March. So that might be a perfect time to share some more hard copy surveys with you. Okay. And then regarding the boundaries for Hedinger, what you see in green here is, of course, Hedinger Park neighborhood boundary, and then inside of it are the census tracts. So, for instance, Census Tract 1, this portion is in the EJ, an EJ community, and then some of the portion of 2 is in the EJ community, but not all. So, for instance, 3, some of the census tracts are not qualified as a full-fledged environmental justice community.
So where 4 is?
Pardon me?
Where number 4 is, south of that would be McFadden. Is that correct? And then
Yes.
That would be
where-
down here at the bottom here, right?
Yeah, so I see the green outline, and I'm wondering if the south side there, if that is McFadden. I see Wilshire Square right underneath that green line. So I know that Wilshire Square is not included, but my question is if that green line is where that EJ border ends on McFadden. That's my question.
That is
ahead.
the southern boundary to Hedinger Park is McFadden.
So is that included in the EJ boundaries, McFadden? Because Wilshire Square homes are facing Hedinger Park. So if Hedinger is included, then maybe the homes facing Hedinger right on McFadden should be included as well. They're not like Hedinger where they have a big block wall that separates them and the traffic. McFadden is
Okay,
their home.
so
right.
Martha, if I'm understanding you correctly, you just want to verify the boundaries, like, you know, if that census tract includes that wraparound of
McFadden.
Wilshire Square properties that are on the McFadden side, because there's no other barrier. They're like right on the avenue.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the
Exactly.
census, yeah, everything north of McFadden would be included in the census tract 4. Because census tracts are typically aligned with major streets like McFadden.
Yeah, I think
and
she just
so-
wants to verify that it's the homes that are just like on the southern part of McFadden. If they should be part of that EJ area. I think that's what she wants clarification.
Correct. Correct.
Hey,
because-
Margarita, Melanie, this is
Thanks.
Ricardo. Just to clarify on the screen you're looking at, the green outline is Hedinger Park boundary. And then the black lines that you see are the census tract boundaries. So census tract that's identified by the number 4 is not within an EJ area. Census tract that's identified with a number 3 is not either. But the 2 census tracts that are identified as 1 and 2 are. So only that top left portion of Hedinger Park is located within the EJ area, and then the bottom portion is not. And Wilshire Square that's located south of the Hedinger Park boundary line is not either.
Right.
Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
Ricardo. And that's where, as we refine these scorecards, we will refine that sort of information to be clear to the neighborhood as well. Thank you for the question.
So we have next Jimmy Brule,
Thanks, Ricardo.
the principal at Carver. Go ahead, Jimmy. Let's see. Alyssa, you're back. Can you see if Jimmy Brule can ask his question? I think he might be muted or. Okay, I just asked him to unmute. Okay, Mr. Brule. Can you unmute yourself to be able to ask your question? Okay, we can go back to him in a bit. Who else do we have, Alyssa?
Dolores.
We have Dolores Almenara.
Hola, ¿qué tal? Muy buenas tardes. Yo les voy a hablar en español porque mi inglés es muy limitado. Gracias, Margarita, por la
Sí,
invitación.
sí, claro. So this is Dolores Almaraz, and she's going to give her question or her comments in Spanish. And she said, yes, thank you for inviting her to this meeting. Sigue, Dolores.
Mi nombre es Dolores Almaraz, vivo en el vecindario de Loga. No he tenido la oportunidad de checar lo que es el plan que me están presentando, porque yo nada más recibí el email. No sé mucho de lo que se está desarrollando, pero considero que es muy importante que la invitación sea abierta para todos los residentes de la ciudad de Santa Ana, porque es muy importante que todos estemos enterados de los cambios que están pasando. Es muy importante mantener las calles que estén seguras, el tráfico. Ahorita estamos en tiempo de pandemia, todo se ve tranquilo, pero cuando todo vuelva a la normalidad, soy una persona que siempre estoy viendo que en las calles hay demasiado tráfico.
Dolores, ¿puedo interrumpir para traducirlo en español? Okay, so here goes, everyone. Okay, so she is Dolores Almaraz from the Logan neighborhood. And She hasn't had an opportunity to review this plan that we're presenting. She doesn't know a lot about it, but she just believes that it's important to leave the process open to include all residents because it's so important. She's also started talking about how we're in a pandemic, and although things right now are sort of calm, she knows that, you know, when things start to normalize, you know, there's some traffic concerns that she started describing. So let me go back to her to continue. Dolores estaba hablando acerca de ya que se vuelve a normalizar las cosas, lo de tráfico que quería compartir con nosotros. Go ahead, Dolores.
Otra es muy importante que también estoy mirando dentro del mapa lo que es yo siempre he mantenido en discusión lo que son las áreas verdes y áreas recreacionales para los jóvenes. Entonces yo no veo que están incluyendo este tipo de acciones, lo cual es muy importante porque en todas las familias siempre va a haber un niño o un nieto que necesite de un área verde donde poder tener una actividad. Y esto para mí es muy importante que también ustedes se consideren en los idiomas. En nuestra ciudad de Santa Ana tenemos también gente vietnamita. Tenemos gente que necesita también estar informada sobre los cambios que están pasando. Considero que aquí en Santa Ana hay bastantes líderes, los cuales pueden aportar mucho. También se les consideren.
Déjame seguir con la interpretación, si me da permiso. So she's looking at the map that has been shown, and she notices that there are no green zones or recreational spaces, which are important to youth, to the jóvenes. And so those areas need to be included because, you know, each youth, it's important for them to find or to have access to open space. And also she notices the importance of having different languages available in our community, including the Vietnamese community, and how, you know, there are a lot of changes that are taking place. And I just caught that last part. Estaba hablando usted de que hay muchos cambios que está pasando, pero no capturé el último de lo que quería compartir.
La otra también me gustaría, como también soy presidenta de un club de mujeres y esto me ha dado el conocimiento de las necesidades que hay en las familias. Entonces, me gustaría también recalcar que los costos de vivienda están muy altos en Santa Ana. Las familias están viviendo apretadas por las viviendas, por lo cual es muy importante que dentro de sus planes incluyan también lo que es viviendas de bajos recursos para las familias, pero que en verdad sea para las familias de bajos recursos, porque ahora también me he dado cuenta que en los vecindarios donde han construido viviendas para familias de bajos recursos, hay gente que gana bastante dinero y las está ocupando. Me gustaría que todo lo que vayan a hacer que sea con equidad y transparencia, porque en realidad en nuestra comunidad de Santa Ana hay mucha necesidad y pocas oportunidades para las familias.
Okay, so Dolores is also sharing that she's the president of a club of women and in the community. And she understands, she's aware of the family's needs. And one of them has to do with affordable housing. There's a lot of families that are crowded, the rents are high. And so, you know, even though the city has affordable housing, it's not affordable to the families that are in here in the city. And so she wanted to bring that to our attention because it's important for us to have a process to connect to the residents, but also a transparent process. I think I captured most of it.
Otro punto también muy importante que quiero agregar es que me gustaría que padres o voluntarios del distrito escolar también sean invitados para estas reuniones, por el motivo de que cuando ellos vienen a recoger, ellos están más directos con las escuelas y está uno más viendo el tráfico cuando los jóvenes salen de las escuelas y el tráfico está no hay suficiente seguridad en las calles cuando los niños entran o salen de las escuelas y los padres vienen a recoger.
Okay, so another thing that Dolores is sharing with us is that she would like for us to invite the parents and volunteers of the school district to these meetings, since they are directly, witnessing what is happening in terms of traffic safety when the students are leaving or entering school.
Y otro punto más, y ya me
And
paro un
one more
poquito.
point that Dolores has. Okay, Dolores.
Ajá, un punto es que estoy muy inconforme porque se han quitado unas canchas de
¿Puede
handball.
repetirlo? ¿Puede repetirlo otra vez?
Sí, que no estoy contenta. Considero que la ciudad toma acciones sin tomar en cuenta toda la comunidad, como es el derrumbe de unas canchas de handball. Y considero que tiene que haber más participación de la comunidad para que la ciudad pueda tener para que la ciudad tome decisiones, tiene que escuchar al resto de la comunidad, no solo a una o a dos personas, para que no haya confusión. Es muy importante que la ciudad invite a la comunidad, a todos, antes de tomar decisiones, porque después hacen decisiones que nos afectan a nosotros como residentes. Después nada más dicen, vamos a votación en algo que no se me hace justo.
Okay, so lastly, Dolores wanted to share that she is not happy with some actions that the city has taken, specifically demolishing the handball court. And she's talking about the one in Logan, and how it's important to listen to for the city to listen to the entire community before taking actions like that, because it affects us as residents. So that ¿es todo, Dolores?
Pues me siento muy contenta y muy feliz y deseo poder estar incluida dentro de estas reuniones, y doy la oportunidad para que otra persona participe, y estoy a la mejor disposición si quieren hablar personalmente conmigo.
Okay, so Dolores has made herself available if we want to follow up with her. She's happy to be included in this meeting, and she would like for others to have the opportunity now to participate.
Thank you, Dolores, for your comments, and I
Gracias, Dolores.
appreciate the input on the need to be inclusive. And we are very much trying to be as inclusive as we can, understanding the diversity of our community. So as you can see in our plan, as I mentioned earlier, we're pulling every strategy from the arsenal that we have from our tool bag to be able to do that, and utilizing all partners that we have throughout the city. As relates to your comments about reviewing the plans, we'll have our staff follow up with you to review what work has been done to date on open space and issues of concerns to you relating to traffic. Affordable housing, will have an opportunity to discuss that as we move into the housing element really soon here, that we'll be doing in tandem to discuss the housing element, as that's something that will also need to be completed. We will follow up with you, and in the case of the handball court, in this case, I think we responded too quick, and we were being too responsive as a government. So I think we'll listen, and we'll continue to do better. Thank you.
Okay, so we have Jimmy Brill back. So Alyssa, do you want to unmute him?
Yeah, Jimmy, if you can unmute yourself.
I am unmuted. Thank you. Sorry about that. I actually stepped away a little bit, but I'm actually glad I got back to listen to Dolores just a little while ago, because it kind of segues a little bit exactly to what I wanted to maybe kind of give my opinion or 2 cents on, and it kind of like springboards off of what Manny was mentioning and a couple of comments that Patricia made. So when it comes down to Santa Ana Unified School District, I'm not representing the district tonight. That would be Susie. But I am principal at Carver Elementary. I've been working directly with Margarita, and before then, with Scott before his retirement. And when it comes to the accountability, and when it comes to more like talking about stakeholders and listening to them, one suggestion that I think that I would actually make to all of us, as far as taking a look at platforms, is going back to Manny's point of what they're doing in New York, and then listening to what Dolores was talking about and getting people's perspective and opinions. Right now we're actually using a platform by the name of Thought Exchange. And through Thought Exchange, it gives people an opportunity to take a look at what opinions are out there, rank them with a strongly disagree to a strongly agree, and then add additional comments. But the nice thing about Thought Exchange is it's ran through an AI platform. So anything that people actually write, there's the elimination of redundancy, et cetera. And our parents are actually really getting a hold of how to utilize this. And I'm thinking if this is something that we can look into in the future, it doesn't have to be that platform. I think a link per ward would be sufficient just to get not only the information out, but also the collection of individuals ranking things as far as what's most important to them. In regards to like our district, I think this is a good springboard as well to maybe recalibrate of how we do things when it comes to a walkability amongst our communities. So if we're targeting our EJ communities, I think that that is a perfect platform to get not only student feedback, but site as well as parent community feedback. We did kind of like a soft mock walkthrough this time around during the shutdown. And that's only because of the streetcar that's being built off of Santa Ana Boulevard. So I got a chance to do that walkability and got the perspective of the community as far as what their thoughts were around the streetcar and student safety. So I think those two things when it comes down to the walkability and then the platform. And then finally, yeah, our face workers do a good job when it comes to the input and output of what comes in the community. But at some point, it would be nice to, continue with the partnership like we're doing right now with COVID vaccines. I think that if at some point we can somehow manage to merge what our bulletins look like going out to the community, use our platforms. Like I would be happy to add city bulletins onto my messages to parents as well as staff. So I think we're in a good place. I'm seeing some good things right now with our new city council. Congratulations to all of you. Some of you already know me, and some of you I still have to meet. But other than that, I'm always ready, available to assist in any way. Margarita, you know how to get a hold of me.
Yes, we all do.
Thank you, Jimmy, and thank you for the kind offers. We'll certainly take you up on that. I see a couple more hands up. I believe, Celica, you next?
Hello, everybody. My name is Celica Diaz. I'm the Pacific Park Neighborhood Leader, and I want to give a couple suggestions. I was telling Margarita, it is very, very important that we have someone, in charge of the Instagram page and update it all the time, every time, almost every day. That's a good way to reach out. I second Mr. Jimmy. It's a good way to reach out the youth. I remember when we had the pandemic, there was a group of people, that would come to the neighborhoods and give out the goodie bags. I don't know if we can, get some group of people together and provide other residents the survey. But I don't know how the survey is going to be, how big, how long. I would like to ask for the survey to be short and to the point, perhaps because the longer it is, then, people don't want to take the time to fill it out. We also have a few nonprofits that give out free food in the city. We have, I think, Latino Health Access, and we have the new nonprofit called SIVA Collective right here on, what's this, Via Fundamental. Perhaps we can provide the surveys on the days that the food is given. I can volunteer to go and help out. While the people are collecting their food, we can, be kind of just keeping our distance, but asking them a few of the questions of the survey. And I do agree with Jimmy and Dolores that the principals around the principals of the schools that are located in the areas would be very important for them to be part of the meetings. And if we can have also the, what do they call them? The community center representatives, also part of our meetings too. They reach out to the parents and they can, bring back feedback for the cities, like kind of collecting, like having bridge. So that's my suggestions.
Thank you, Silica, and we accept your volunteering for the task. I have your contact number, so don't worry.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you. Next, we have, I believe Janelle Hardy had her hands up, and then it's Hilda Ortiz, and then we'll have another comment from Patricia.
Hello, everyone. I'm Janelle Hardy, resident here in Hedinger Park. And I just wanted to point out that there are no parks in Hedinger Park. Not everybody knows that, maybe. Also, I see in Census Tract 1 in Hedinger Park, actually, that's a location of Santa Ana High School and Hedinger Elementary School and the historic United Auto Building, which is now occupied by Original Mike's, and the historic fire museum and fire station. I believe it's 75 now. So I'm wondering, can we like get a count of the actual houses or housing stock in the census area 1 in Hedinger Park? Because there's not that many actually places to live right there in Hedinger Park. There's more a concentration of housing in the other EJ area, area 3, I think it was, and maybe we can get a count on housing units there too. Because the statistics seem to be kind of general when you look at them like a blanket. So is there any validity into actually counting how many homes or apartments there are in these areas in Hedinger Park?
This is Melanie. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Hi, Janelle. Hi.
Melanie.
It's a bit of a challenge as we work through this environmental justice subject. So when we go to the neighborhoods with the scorecard, our attempt is to provide the statistics on the environmental justice areas. And as you were just describing, for Hedinger Park, that does not include the whole neighborhood. So we're going to have to kind of work through it. But again, the aim of SB 1000 is to look at the areas that have been identified with, significant disadvantages, whatever those might be, and to look at ways to improve upon those disadvantages. So when we provide the scorecard for Hedinger Park, it might say that, let's say that air quality is one of the areas that you really want to work on. It may or may not matter how many residential units are in there. But the bigger picture is that we're looking for measures to improve the air quality for the residents in general in that area.
Okay, because the census tract area, I think it was 1 there, the boundary is of course South Flower, First Street, South Main, and that's like a really busy area. So I guess that would reflect in negative air quality, which is an environmental justice issue.
Right.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Janelle.
Sure.
We'll be in touch.
All
I
right.
believe it was Hilda next.
Yes, thank you. And hi, everyone. Good evening. It's great to be here and hear all the outreach plan, hear that there's a variety of ways that residents are going to be able to participate and get feedback. I wanted to respond to Celica's comment as well. We'd be happy to provide, I should say, I'm with Latino Health Access. So we'd be happy to support in our food bank or the food distributions that we do weekly. It's been a very effective way. We've also worked with Judson and McKell in the housing division to also get out some tenants, the rental assistance programs, and it's been very effective in getting information out through the food distribution and also the COVID clinics that we've been hosting. So we'd be happy to support with that. And I actually also had a question related to that. With the hard copies that are going to be available to residents, can you talk or do you have a timeline, for when they'll be distributed and the ways that residents can give those hard copies back? Or is it only going to be through pop-up events and then you'll be collecting them from organizations? What is the plan for that?
We're anticipating, this is Melanie. Thanks so much, Hilda. Thanks for joining in tonight. We're anticipating the surveys being available in March, and that we would continue to distribute them and encourage feedback through May. So March, April, May. And at this point, we're looking at designing them in such a way that you could fold them with self-addressed to Santa Ana, put a stamp on it, and mail it back to us. We're also looking at potentially locations where they can be dropped off as well. Of course, you can always drop it off at City Hall. But so we're open to different ideas, but at minimum, we're looking at designing it so people could fold it back up and mail it if they would like to.
Thank you, Melanie. And Hilda, thank you. We'll certainly take your volunteerism as well. I love working with Latino How Access. Patricia, if you don't mind, we're coming towards the end of the meeting. I want to make sure that we give a chance to everyone that haven't spoken yet. So I have 2 more hands up, and then we'll get to you. I want to make sure everyone has an opportunity to speak. Vivian, if you can speak next.
Thank you so much. So grateful to be here to this meeting and listen to all the suggestions and the information, and sounds really, really good for our community. I'm in the Delhi Neighborhood Association, and we have a really thriving community. We're part of the Warner Widening Project, which is going to make our street bigger, and one house in will be gone. But we're a community that keeps on giving. So we're hanging tough and we're doing the best we can. And maybe the Delhi Center could be a drop off as well to receive the folded, yeah. And a little drop off point for that. I'm not sure if it's open and available for that yet, but that might be a suggestion, or even a slot or something that could be collected there. And I would be happy to drive it down to the city myself. So yeah, we're very resourceful. We like to pitch in and roll up our sleeves and get busy in Delhi, because we're like a thriving community. So drive by every now and then, stop by to see us. We're on the East End and close to the 55. So don't forget about us. Okay. Thank you
so much.
Thank you, Vivian. We'll take you up on that. Linnell?
Hello, everyone. Leonardo Flores, community organizer for Madison Park Neighborhood Association. I just want to say thank you for everything tonight. I can really see the progress that's being made, and I appreciate that. I just had 2 questions, just to try to get a little bit more information and clarification. I'm not really too familiar with the peach jar system you were talking about.
Yes.
So if you could explain a little bit more about that, and how many people you plan to reach with that. And then the second question is, do you have a tentative timeline or schedule for the 10 community meetings?
So let me start with the peach jar, and Margarita or Alyssa, feel free to chime in. So the peach jar tool is a tool that it actually taps into the email distribution for the various public schools in Santa Ana Unified and Garden Grove. And we too wanted to clarify the reach. So we have, we're getting the statistics on what the distribution numbers are, how many parents are actively engaged in it and registered for it. So we'll get back to you on those particulars. But it does, again, tap into the parent distribution email lists connected to those schools. So we're looking forward to that tool. And then as far as the timing for the schedule on the various meetings, we wanted to wait till this meeting was concluded, and then we'll be reaching out to the various neighborhoods and grouping them. And again, that'll be through March, April, and May. But we should have a tentative schedule out. I would, Margarita, when would you think we don't have a tentative schedule out on the actual neighborhood meetings?
I think you're on mute.
I think you need it.
Sorry. So I think one of the thoughts is, for example, Delhi and Memorial Park, we want to be able to kick off this process. So like Vivian and Erika and others, from Memorial Park, I know Lisa Tran is on this call too. It would be just connecting with you just to double check that the dates work. Same thing with Madison Park. So we are looking at those 10 meetings, community meetings from mid-March through late May to try to wrap that up. And so it's what we need to do is have those dates lined up so that it's timely. By the time we want to be respectful, right, of the 2-week noticing, how important it is for our community to know in advance, so that the mailer, the email, the word of mouth, can start buzzing already. So that is what our next step is as the staff who's getting to roll this out soon.
Thank you. Thank you for covering all that information, and look like we're getting pretty much on time and on schedule. The last portion of our meeting will be discussing some next steps. But before I do that, I want to give time to Patricia for some final questions and comments.
Yeah, just a final request, since I know we're coming to the end of the meeting. If we could schedule a follow-up roundtable to go over the content of the general plan, and be able to offer suggestions for fine-tuning the policies as community stakeholders.
Actually, you'll have an opportunity to do that. What the outreach process will do is that we will be using the information through this process and we use that information to refine the general plan policy and document. And that will actually be publicly recirculated and be reviewed again, like we did before we prep for the hearing. So the general public will absolutely have an opportunity to review the general plan before it gets presented to the City Planning Commission and City Council for presentation. I want to thank everyone tonight for getting and staying with us so far. I want to be respectful of your time and look like we're actually pretty much on schedule. There are a few things that we want to discuss in terms of the next steps and the proposed schedule that we have that is tentative. As mentioned, the EJ neighborhood meetings will be conducted between March and May with the survey as well. From this information, we will be using that information, working with our consultant to refine the general plan policy and objectives that we have completed to date so that it's comprehensive, further addressing EJ issues. We will also have a workshop with the Planning Commission so that the general public, in addition to the EJ community, will have a chance to participate through the Planning Commission process. Our goal is to circulate the revised general plan and EIR in the summer. And with that process, we hope to be able to begin the public hearing for the adoption of the document in late fall. And that should be late fall 2021, not 2022. So apologize for that typo. Going from here, we will take what we heard tonight as well as what we have done to date. We will be finalizing our implementation, finalizing outreach and implementing our plan for outreach in the next couple months. And I've gone over the timeline of what will be happening after the outreach process. So with that, we do have a final slides that show you how to continue reaching us. If you want, and for those that have volunteered, please leave us with your information. We will take you up on your offer because I genuinely believe that we want to make sure that we can use all the help we can get. The pandemic right now is it's unprecedented, and we understand that. Our goal, and we really wanted to have in person, but I think what we have done to date has been extraordinary, and the partnership we have formed, I believe, will be very fruitful for us in this process. So thank you. I hope you continue to keep in touch. I hope you continue to keep involved, and we'll continue to go through this process, and we'll communicate as we make progress. Thank you very much. And
Min?
yes.
Sorry. So we just we received some sad news just before this meeting started, and we wanted to close in honor of one of the neighborhood leaders from Memorial Park. So I just wanted to share, with the group as we're ending this meeting, just to, we wanted to share that Raul Ramos, who was the president of the Santa Ana Memorial Park Neighborhood Association for many years, that we learned that he passed away this past Saturday from COVID complications. So we just wanted to close in honor of him and his family, for their commitment with the neighborhood over many years. So it's shocking news for some of us. So.
Yes. Thank you, Margarita.
Thank you, Margarita. So with that, I bid everyone good night and stay healthy, and we'll keep in touch.
Thanks so much.
Bye,
Night.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.